I'm glad you're here. I will call to order the Policy Personnel Curriculum Committee meeting, which was duly noticed on May 2nd, 2025, through the posting and notification of the press in accordance with Wisconsin 19.84. Notice is hereby given that school board members who are not members of this committee may attend this meeting so as to constitute a quorum of the Board of Education. Any such board member attendance will be for information gathering only and will not result in direct decision-making by the Board of Education at the committee meeting. I am moving to safety message. Of course, I didn't have that pulled up. I apologize. With all that time, I could have had that. I have a quick little safety message about, here's some safety tips for May. Indoor safety tips. This is all related to electrical safety. Reduce your safety load by using energy efficient appliances and lighting. Unplug small appliances when not in use. Use an outlet cover or plastic outlet cap to keep children safe around outlets. Make sure your home has smoke alarms. That one comes up all along. Test them monthly, change the batteries yearly, and replace. I think Commissioner Murray would say at least twice a year though, right? And replace the unit every 10 years. Outdoor safety tip, know what's below before you dig. Dial 811 to have your local electric or natural gas company representative mark the location of underground lines for free. Never touch down power lines. Watch for overhead power lines every time you use a ladder. Work on roofs and trees or carry long tools or loads. Keep kites, model airplanes, and metallic balloons away from power lines. Okay, and then I need a motion to adopt the May 5th, 2025 agenda as presented. Any questions? All right, that passes. Oh, we have to vote. Sorry, I'm just trying to be really on time here. We need to vote. All in favor? Aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, presentation on ninth grade conferencing. Chris Medenwalt.
All right, good evening, everyone. Mr. Kane is going to join me in a second. We will talk a bit about ninth grade conferencing. I'm going to talk a little bit about how it came to be, and Mr. Kane is going to talk about the intricacies of how we pulled it off. So originally, just about a year ago, we had a group to talk about work-based learning and work-based learning in the district. Everything from the current states of what we're doing to what other places do, and what could we do if, and that sort of thing. It was really very open to talk about work-based learning. But one of the things that happened in there as we were focusing on where we were at is we believed that there was a lack of awareness on everything from academic and career planning of our students and their families. No clear representation of, well, what does that look like? What's the consistencies? And certainly including work-based learning with that. And out of that, we said, we've got to find a way to educate people, right? Well, how do we do that? This team started thinking through a variety of things and really settled into introducing this at that ninth grade level. It's something we wanted to try of like, okay, what would that look like? And we referred to something like, sort of almost like a Ready, Set, Goal conference for ninth graders. What would that look like if it was this way? What if it looked like some sort of academic and career planning? What if it looked like something that educated people on work-based learning options? How would we even know what to do? Well, how would we survey ninth graders? So it was a lot of brainstorming. We had a lot of ideas. I didn't put all the ideas up there because we didn't use all the ideas. This is really what we got set on as we continued to have our conversation about what might we do. So as we got there, like, okay, if we were going to do that, right, then you have to start going, if this is what we wanted, what has to happen for that, right? What has to happen next? One is we realized, well, we can't do that without having staff assist us. And we don't believe we have staff prepared to do that. Like, hey, we'd like you to do ninth grade conferencing next week. Like, what's that mean? like, you'll be fine, just go ahead and do it, right? And we're like, that's not gonna work. So we had a lot of discussions about how would we train staff, what would they need to know, how do we do that in an effective and efficient manner, and then how do we determine how we're going to prepare our ninth graders? We need some survey information, we need something to discuss, to talk about, and really Mr. Kane, who's going to talk here in a second, and Jolene Chironis at Parker were really instrumental in starting to brainstorm some ideas and think about what would work in their buildings and think about how to pull this off. But we had an agreement we needed to do something to train our staff. So then we got to what exactly do they need to know? How would we train them? We created a training module in order to train all staff, saying, once you're done with this, right, it might not be perfect, right? You're not going to be a career counselor by the end of the training, but we believe you'll be able to answer enough questions for our families, and if you can't, at least point them in the right direction of when they do. So we came up with a couple of objectives, right, that we listed up there, just to be able to lead an engaging and effective academic and career planning conference. Like, how do you do that? Went through everything from the introduction to the papers that would be available to them, websites, that sort of thing, and then to be able to identify resources for families. One of the things we know is that our course guide, our ACP guide for our high schools is comprehensive, is one nice way of saying it's enormous. And it gets to be a lot for families if you can't spend time in there. So our goal of this was, we're gonna highlight some things that we think are relatively important as a ninth grade family and for your planning for later on. So we went everything from, we had a meeting with a whole bunch of people to talk about work-based learning to, well, if we want to get better at it, we got to get a little better at ACP, and we have to inform people of what work-based learning is. And that got us to the point of training, right? And so Sean's going to talk about what that looked like.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sean Kane, Assistant Principal, Craig High School. I'm here to talk a little bit more about our execution and implementation of our ACP conferences for all our students at Craig and Parker. As Chris mentioned, the academic and career planning guide is comprehensive, right, Chris? 117 pages, and that, for those of you that are parents in the room, certainly can be a daunting task to make sure I understand what's fully in this. So I think our focus for both me and Jolene and our team was to make sure it was consumable for people as they enter into a really important phase for their family, right? Their ninth grader might be their first high schooler in the room. So our goals really were fourfold, really making sure that we're meeting with those families one-on-one to start that conversation much earlier in their academic career than, say, junior, senior year, when those capstone experiences really should be experienced by students. We know we have some comprehensive opportunities for our students in the district, and we wanted to make sure parents knew about what those were. And then certainly, how does that fit into their 4 years of high school, and so that they can plan correctly. So those are the goals of our conferences, and as we were training our teachers, we wanted to make sure, or the staff that were going to execute these conferences, we made sure they knew what their goals and outcomes were. Whoops, went through that slide already. So it started really early in our school year. Probably the second week of school, we had every ninth grader in the building, both at Craig and Parker, use a platform called Zello to complete a career interest matchmaker survey. Students aren't unfamiliar with it. They utilized that platform in middle school, and they came to us. But we also know that from 7th and 8th grade, your plans and interests can definitely change. So we wanted to make sure we had as accurate responses from our students. So we used that survey to really match with a career pathway, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment here. And really, once we got to those conferences in October, the essential question we wanted to make sure students were able to answer and families were able to answer is, do your results of your career matchmaker really align with what you are interested in and looking towards your future? So really, our focus was to make sure families knew how to navigate this and how this could be a really useful tool based on different sections. So this is our academic and career planning guide again. So for example, our planning guide can be a very useful tool if I know my student is really interested in manufacturing. Deep into this document, you can use this as a one-stop shop to not only know exactly what student organizations are out there for students to get involved in a manufacturing pathway, but also what industry credentials exist that they could earn through their experience in their 4 years at high school. Also, the document is very helpful to make sure that if you look on the right side of that screen there, what is the actual course progression I should be taking if I really am interested in a manufacturing pathway? So right then and there, early in their high school career, they know, oh, if I'm not in manufacturing 1 now, I better be by sophomore year or by my second semester. And if I really want to get into, say, a youth apprenticeship with a local partner here, I better be in manufacturing 4 by the time I'm a junior so I can utilize a capstone experience. Now, there are 17 pathways that we have laid out in our ACP, maybe even more. And again, you can see on the right side of this screen there is exactly all the coursework that might align with the manufacturing, but we have them laid out for agriculture, human services, education, STEM, so this can be a really useful document. And for a parent, first to the high school experience, they might not know a lot of this, or it's like drinking from a fire hose. So being able to spend some time with those families and making sure they fully understand the concept of that was a primary focus for our ACP conferences. Then, again, we're scaffolding their learning. We wanted to make sure that parents also understood what our work-based learning options were for all students. Aaron O'Leary, who is one of our work-based learning liaisons for the district, did a nice job of pulling together a nice trifold comprehensive document. This was one of the documents that went home with families. And when I was training our staff and when Jolene was training the Parker staff, we made sure that, hey, if I'm a human services student and interested in human services or manufacturing, these might be some of our work-based learning opportunities that should be your end of high school capstone experiences for you. And this also lays out what are the benefits to your individual student to be able to participate in these options. We end the conversation really with families making sure they know what exactly the graduation requirements are so that they can start the 4-year plan quickly. Another document that or families were walking away with from these conferences is a 4-year plan. And I can tell you from my experience, because I ran the manufacturing strand and I ran another strand as well, there were families that would show up and they had no idea there was something as easy to plan out their experience for their child in the document. Or we had families that showed up with this already done. So the learning curve for many of the families, and I can tell you they weren't families that had older siblings in the high school experience. So some families just needed to be able to walk through it and supported with that process. The goal was then to make sure that the families knew exactly how to start the process of planning out the next 3.5 years, so to speak. And I think the timing was really good because we were leading into the early winter and course selection comes up quick in January. So I think the families were very appreciative of the opportunity. I want to just highlight one last thing. Some of the staff members that we selected, we were very intentional with the staff that we selected to run these conferences. For us at Craig, we utilize our student services staff. Obviously, they do this and they counsel our students all the time and families all the time. But we also selected our instructional managers or our department heads to run these conferences as well. Why? Because they know their departments, they know their course offerings, they know what it takes to get from entry-level introductory coursework to the end coursework and ultimately what the capstone is that's related to it. So we were very intentional in making sure that we had the right 25 people running conferences for 353 families. At the end of the conference, we asked for feedback. We wanted the parents to tell us what they thought about this opportunity, and I'm just going to share a little bit of that feedback because the survey that we pushed out, there were about 78 respondents, which is good for the first time we've ever done this, which is good. And there was a lot of positive feedback, so I'll just kind of go through that with you. So we had about 4 or 5 questions, and this one had to do with for them to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being strongly agree, 4 being agree, all the way down. So you can see right there that 92% of the families felt like they at least agree that they have a better understanding of what work-based learning offerings are in our district. Here, again, upper 80s, 90. I guess, if I could do my math correctly. Capstone opportunities, they definitely understood now that there's an end of high school capstone opportunity that takes them beyond the walls of Craig High School or Parker High School. That's really positive data there. In addition, families also have a strong focus on making sure that four-year plan is really secured before they move to the next grade levels, and so they have a general understanding of what the end goal is for their student. And then finally, did they believe that this process was helpful and planning for that? And again, we had some really strong responses, over 80% there, in terms of feeling positive about and agreeing with the process. And then here's just some parent testimonials. I'll read them to you, even though you're all capable here. This was a great meeting. It helped us understand what opportunities there are for the direction of our son, wants to go after high school. It's amazing. I appreciate all your help. This is a great opportunity to not only show the importance of college, but also skilled trades in the workforce. So again, we had probably 19 testimonials that were submitted through the survey, 78 respondents, both from Craig and Parker, and much of that feedback was very, very positive. That's all we have for you today. Is there any other questions I can answer for you?
Thank you. I think this is great that you're doing more to share, because that is some of the feedback. I only knew about some of the ones my kids took advantage of because of being on board. So this is really good to do. So it was done in the fall? I guess I
Yep.
didn't catch the time.
Yes, we did it in the October parent-teacher conferences.
Okay.
Also, we wanted to kind of share the load of our student services staff members, right? We knew that their goal is always to make sure they're meeting one-on-one with families, but it's hard to do that with a full junior class or a senior class and preparing for college entrance and freshmen. So we thought this could serve two purposes, making sure parents and stakeholders understand what's offered out there. But the other purpose would be to share the load for our staff so that they can do other work and prioritize other things that are just as important.
So if you had 78 between Parker and Craig, and you've got 380 some families just at Craig and
Yep.
freshmen, what percent attended?
At Craig, we had 153 conferences out of 363. We had 44% of our students
Okay,
show up with families. I don't know the number at Parker.
okay.
Yeah, it was just, it was lower than that at Parker, but it was.
So it was a really good effort, super well thought out. How do we reach the rest?
I think we utilize more communication early. We knew we wanted to do this, but I think making sure our families, as early as registration day at Craig in August, that information's going out for them, because we were still kind of in the planning phases and what that looks like, but making sure we're getting that communication out. The back-to-school nights in August, here is your assigned time, and this is when you need to be there. I think the scheduling component of these conferences can definitely be refined and improved. It came late to the parents. Maybe we were able to at least get the schedule to them about 10 days out. That's still hard for families to juggle parent-teacher conferences if you got multiple kids, and I gotta be in the
Yeah.
elementary school. So yeah, there's
Right.
definitely some more communication and front-loading for families to get more and more involved, for sure.
I guess, are there methods that we could think through, and it doesn't have to be answered tonight, but so I don't have to go in person? What if I've got, two other kids I'm running around, and, like, you leveraging some other channel to share this information to more families? I don't even care if I think even an email, it's through Infinite Campus or something, or even a little video or something to reach the rest, because so many are not gonna go, over half aren't gonna go to
Yeah.
conferences. So just something to think through.
Sure.
It's great, very, very much appreciative, because I want more kids to YA, or, all these things are so good, but you just don't know, people don't know about them. So, anyway, thank you.
Of course.
I was gonna ask the same questions about the percentage, because that wasn't shared in the timing, so, but thank you for making the effort. I mean, it's a huge lift. Thank you.
For the first time we ever did it, executing it and having over 150 families in, that's a win
That's
for us.
success.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we were pretty pleased. I mean, the timeline really was, right, April of last year, when the idea was spawned. We didn't pull the trigger of, we're definitely doing this, until September of '25, or September of '24, and then pulled it off in October of '24. So we'll be better. We'll be better, right? We're not gonna get 100, but we'll be better.
Yep.
I'm just so proud of you all for doing this. This is something that, through PPC, that I've shared as a parent like that type of information is so essential. So I just can't tell you how much it means to me to see. I am not taking credit. I don't want that, but so please don't. But like, it's so awesome to be a part of. Like, hey, this is something that, and then now we're seeing this come to fruition and really have significant impact on our families and students. I mean, it could potentially change the trajectory of a student's entire time in high school, this work. And to have had that amount of families participate with that amount of planning is a huge success. So I hope you're really proud of the work that you've done. I also think those extra contacts with different staff members that maybe those families wouldn't have touched base with, those are really positive connections, because then it's, you know, if they're meeting with that counselor or you, Mr. Kane, it's another staff member that they're seeing and talking with and then can feel comfortable reaching out to. I don't know how often, what the percent of parents who show up to conferences. I would guess, though, that some of those parents showed up specifically because they were assigned to this time and may not have come otherwise. So I bet that it increased conference participation specifically. So I just thank you so much. I'm excited to hear what, you know, how it progresses over time. Anytime that we can connect and get that information out to kids and families, it's a win for all of us. Thank you. I really appreciate the work that you put in.
Of course.
One more question, sorry. Does this include a conversation around the difference between TC, AP, all that kind of stuff? Because, I mean, I push TC to people I know.
Yeah, I think
It's huge.
that conversation piece does when we get into
okay.
the course progressions.
Okay.
So for some families, yes, what's a
Okay.
TC class? Well,
Yeah,
a transcript and credit class is this.
Yeah.
So, it really does depend on the pathway that the student
Sure, so it
kind of
comes up
matches
at
with.
least,
If
okay.
there are TC offerings, then we talk through what that is.
Okay.
Make sure families really understand that that is a benefit beyond their
Right.
4 years of high school.
Right,
Yep.
because if they don't take tests well for, you know, AP class isn't gonna do a
Yeah,
ton of good. Thank you, that's good.
you're welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll see you later. Okay, moving on. District messaging platform update. Chris Benwell, you're here again.
Still here. All right, I'm going to go through this pretty briefly. This is mostly slides from the organization that we're going to partner with, Talking Points. Earlier on this school year, started exploring some communication apps for a variety of reasons. What happened is Patrick and myself and Brian Ernstine started talking to different vendors, started narrowing that down about what we'd like to have happen. Earlier in April, had a staff meet to go through, narrow it down to 2 vendors. We had people from student services, elementary, from activities, all different school levels, participate to give feedback, and settled on Talking Points. So I'm going to go just really briefly. I'm not going to go deeply into what Talking Points can do. The truth of the matter is we have selected Talking Points and we're talking with them and we're in negotiations with them. We haven't even signed with them yet. That's how new this all is. So I'll tell you a little bit about what it can do. What we want it to do, it can do a lot more. That's a little bit of what we're talking about. Do we want it to do more? As all of you are aware, we were just talking about family engagement is something that certainly can drive student outcomes. This is just some data from Talking Points and their research of what it can do. Talking Points is a nonprofit ed tech. That's who we're working with right now. They are in many schools, and many schools in the state of Wisconsin as well. And here's, this to me is probably the easiest way to look about what it does. It appears as texting, right? And it allows staff members to communicate with families, and it will do a lot of things, but one of the things we really like that it does is it translates into 131 languages. So when I text in English as a teacher, you get it in your preferred language that you would like, that you've chosen through IC. And then when you type in your home language, the teacher receives that in English, right? Assuming that that's how they sent that. One of the reasons we like Talking Points has proprietary translation software that they've created. They train their own AI with their AI experts because they know it's education-based. So I'll give you the really simple example is the word substitute in education means something very different than substitute does outside of education. So their soft knows that that's what you're talking about. You're talking about a teacher when you say substitute, all right, in that context. So it's just one of the many reasons we thought that Talking Points worked very well. Why do people like it and why does it work? For teachers, it feels like texting. Teachers will actually get a number from Talking Points. They will have an additional number that they won't be able to use for other things, but this. Families will get a text to their phone. If they don't want it to be a text, both sides can use an app instead and communicate through the app, but it will appear just like texting, right? At no time will anybody actually see the number. So as a family, I can't call them. That number doesn't receive calls. I can't give them a call. I can text who that teacher is, and I can't text other people. I can only text the people I'm signed up for. So I can only text through Talking Points my students, right, who they're connected with, right? I can't say, well, all of a sudden now I'm going to text, I have a sixth grader, I'm going to text the eighth grade teachers of like that. It doesn't work that way, right? There has to be a reason to be there, but it allows people to engage that way. What we know is in general, right, we have to get better at this, and also that we have to communicate with parents in a way they communicate. And if they delete as many emails as I delete, emails isn't quite the way to get about it. So we know that works. One of the reasons we like this is because if it's a texting, we don't have to train people. Well, here's how you communicate with your teacher. We know that the vast majority of our families can text, right? They have phones, and we know that they're familiar with that, so it'll just look like that, right? It'll just be texting. One of the things that we really liked, you can think of like, well, I don't want families communicating with our teachers at 9:30 at night. The teachers set office hours basically, and through Talking Points, and it will auto respond to that. You reached me. Thank you for reaching out. You've reached out to me outside of my working hours. I'll be sure to respond to this when I've returned to work. All right, and that's true through the app and through their phone to be able to do that. Just a few schools who use that. As you can see, some of those schools are just slightly bigger than Janesville. So it's not like they don't have some experience in doing this and what's going on. So we're really confident that we didn't pick a startup that were like, oh, how's this going to work? And we know that there's, like I said, some schools in Wisconsin and that use them as well. They would claim they're the best translation. One of the things that it really does do is it keeps us from using a lot of different things. It is, as they say, a proprietary solution to this. The translation is a really big deal. There's a few other features that they have, and we're exploring whether or not those features are important to us, and whether or not we'd like to select that. What we will do is eventually, once we have everything on board and have some, ideally maybe a few pilot things done this summer through our activities, is once we get to September, we will inform families that this is how you will be communicated with, and this is how our staff will communicate with your kids. So if it's outside of something like an official email from our district, if it's outside of Talking Points, we would like you to inform us that this communication has happened, because that is not how we've set it up. They should be communicating through Talking Points. We will have access to every single message, both sent and received, through Talking Points, no matter for what, and we will have that access for 7 years. And that's pretty much it. I went really fast, partly because, I can answer a lot of questions, but not a single person has received a single bit of training. That's how fresh this stuff is off the press. But we're really excited about it. When the group met and went through vendors, it was an easy selection of Talking Points. They really thought this was the way to go at all levels.
I just appreciate the single point of contact as a former parent who had children go through the school district. Some teachers responded to emails, some didn't, I texted, so having different channels with different teachers, was difficult. So I just appreciate that it's a single point of contact and the fact that, we have knowledge of what's being communicated by our educators.
Yeah.
I appreciate that as well.
And our expectation will be that all communication, so clubs, sports, everything will go through talking points. So you won't have to, as a parent, be like, oh, I gotta have this app for swimming, and I need this app for this, and I need this app for, like, if it's not coming through talking points, it shouldn't be coming at all.
One more. Are we able to like pilot it before you sign a contract? Can you pilot it with like activities over the
We
summer
are,
and
we are
stuff
gonna
like-
do some, we are hopeful to do some work. Some of the pace that we're, May 12th is the fall meeting for activities for the fall, and we will not have this by that time. So we have had some discussions about, are there some ways that we can work out the kinks? We are confident that it will work. We are confident that it'll do the things we want to do. It may also replace some other things that we're doing. We just, like I said, it's really new for us. We're not quite there.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us, as new as it is. I appreciate that.
Hey, thank you for this. Question, does Infinite Campus not have this capability?
It does not.
Is there a charge for this?
Yes.
How much is it?
That's what we're still working out.
And that'll come to the board before it goes out, right?
No, unless it's something like astronomical, so no, I would guess that we would just reorganize the resources we're using for things like, what's the Google Translate, like some of the things we're taking away that will go there, that's how we'll solve that. We don't bring most of those like expenses from vendors, like we do the process, but we don't bring those to the board for approval.
Oh, I'd be curious to see it though when it is. I feel like 'cause with a new thing, I feel like it normally would, but okay.
And Superintendent Holzman is right. We believe it will, like right now, we use Google Voice for a lot of things. We will no longer need to use Google Voice, so that will reduce our cost in Google Voice, and there's a few other things. But all of, like I said, it's pretty new, so we've just got some things we've got to work out.
So then is it an app parents will have to have?
No,
Okay,
they can,
okay,
if they would rather communicate through the app, but otherwise it will appear as a text.
okay. How do they find a teacher if they want to reach out to a teacher?
When they register, they will have to basically select to not be in talking points when they register the students in July,
Okay,
okay? Once that happens, then our teachers will reach out saying, hey, this is Mr. Menwald, if you'd like to communicate with me, welcome you to my classroom. This is Mr. Menwald, welcome to DECA, that sort of thing,
Okay.
they'll reach out. There's also ways to do it through QR codes, and there's a variety of ways to do it, but that's likely the way it'll happen.
okay. My last question is, will it be supplemented by the emails we get now? Because what if they don't have a cell phone? Like, what if they don't? I don't know. I mean, are you still gonna also do the emails that Patrick does?
I think the overall, the general communication and mass communication, that will look like it does now, right? I don't know that we'll do mass communication through talking points yet. That's one of the features that they can do. What we would need to do is make sure that it integrates with things like food service and all that sort of thing that we already use some mass communication for. So I'm not sure we're gonna jump on that just yet and make sure, we really went at it. We know we needed some one-to-one communication. That was our main focus that we've did. And so we'll definitely do that, and we'll continue to explore some of the other options.
This is really great. I have a couple questions. One, the class dojo that some elementary schools use, will this eliminate class dojo? Okay,
No.
okay, because I know some really successfully use it, and
Yep.
I was thinking, oh boy, this could be a huge can of worms.
Yep,
Okay.
we've had those discussions. We do not intend to change that. So it's possible if you had an elementary student or students and middle school and high school students that you would have two communication, but Class Dojo does some things that we just didn't want to go with and or that we couldn't remove and find somewhere else. So right now, if that's working for families, we're going to continue to use that.
Okay. Yes, I was downstairs. Okay, that is great. And so for the schools that don't use Class Dojo Elementary, because I know some don't, and I don't know who or what.
10 do and 2 use Seesaw.
Okay, all right. Because I know that occasionally will come up like in the parent community of, well, doesn't your school use Will? Then those schools still use Seesaw, or will they move to Talking Point?
So we're going to work through that a little bit, and it probably will take us a year to figure out
Okay.
the do's and don'ts of some of that. Part of the reason that both of those are used is, yes, they're communication tools. They can be classroom management tools. For Seesaw, we house a lot of our curriculum for those 2 schools there. So we're not as worried about some of that. I think we can work that out. What we were and are concerned about, and what we will do is, we know we do have some elementary staff who've communicated directly with families using their own cell phones, and we would rather they not do that. We don't have a record of that communication then, so we would like, if they're going to text with families, that they text through Talking Points.
Okay, that's great. And then one thing, and I'm sure you've already thought about this possibility, but I think this could be a great tool for communication for summer school, because that's a challenge, that switch over. And I'm sure that, like any type of electronic software, there's always this like getting people added, but hopefully it can be as easy as like a little click. But that has been something consistently over my 14 years as a parent, that communication has been a gap often. And so that would be amazing tool to be clicked on within so many days of summer school starting,
Right.
to easily get that messaging out to the parents, the families who are signed up for those classes. So I hope that can be a great tool to improve that communication aspect. Wonderful. I know it's been a lot of hard work. I'm super excited about this, and I know that it's going to make some pretty significant positive impact across our district.
It's going to be good.
Yeah,
It's
thank you.
a little bit of a learning curve for us, but it'll be great.
It will be tricky. I know that there will be ups and downs. We go through this at our own business and have many times with that switchover. And so I hope that when people are experiencing the frustration of, oh, this is an extra work, eventually it won't be. It will
Right.
just be what we do. And it will,
Right.
I feel confident that it will be really worth it for everyone's safety and security long
100%.
term. So, thank you. I'm
Yep.
so glad to move in this direction. Okay, moving on. Update on AIM training for K-5 staff, Dr. Allison DeGraff.
have for focus. So that is a brief overview of the Act 20 training that all teachers received. Overall, the training, it's been positive feedback. The feedback you'll hear is that was a lot, that took a lot of time, and yes, it did. So, but I feel like we saw a lot of growth when you look at the pre and post assessments, and I feel like it's the opportunity to really build the capacity of all of our leaders as well as our teachers on literacy instruction so that we can continue to see more and more students reading on grade level by third grade is really the goal of all of this. We were also, I appreciate from the district as well, with Act 20, we don't receive any funding from the state to implement this requirement. So we were able to train the majority and pay for the majority of our training under our ESSER dollars too. So we've had to use a little bit from local, but because we were proactive and started the training early, we were able to pay for most of it that way too as well. So yeah, a lot of positive results from the training. So
I hope you get some rest soon. I know you don't ever do that, though. But thank you. This is super great stuff. And I think it's one more talking point we have as board members when we're asked, what are you doing about the report card? Well, how are you going to get it up? Well, it didn't fall overnight. It's not going to come up overnight, but this is going to help really get us started. Thank you. Very good work.
thank you.
I just want to say thank you too. That's a lot of hours. And the two things that I come away with after your presentation is that I didn't know there was that leadership component, so that elementary principals could build a literacy plan too. I think that's just another tool for us as board members to be able to say it's not just about the educators, but we're also trying to continue to develop those elementary principles as well for the literacy component, a firm foundation, building
Yes.
blocks for them. So I appreciate you just sharing that because I did not know that before this presentation. And I'll let you go because I just lost in my
Okay.
mind what I was gonna say for my second point.
First of all, thank you. I know this is something we talk about all the time. We both have a passion for literacy that is very shared, and one of the reasons why I got involved with the board, there were many, and I appreciate those that encouraged me, but literacy was a top of my list, and so it is really gratifying to know that the district is making huge steps forward over, these last 4 or 5 years. And, I'm always very excited when we're gonna see this just great explosion on our test scores and report card, because I know it's coming. Thank you. 60 hours is a lot. And so I just wanna recognize for all the staff that have, especially those people who first don't, because I think there was people who chose to do it right away, right?
Yes, before we even knew it was officially going to be a requirement, we thought that was coming, but there were people that volunteered that just wanted to do that because they want to be able to continue to improve their skills on literacy instruction. So
Yeah, it's
very
just-
much appreciated.
So appreciated. It's a lot of time away from, their lives, but they're investing in their students, our students, and themselves as professionals and our community by that training. So it's profound work. And then to know that the administrators did it and all of you as well. And I want to point out that this was all district paid. Staff they were not paying for this training or anything. It was all provided. So that's 60 PD hours that they gained through the process. So that's fantastic. It's a win-win. I know it's a lot of work, so I am so grateful. I heard it's hard. And I've shared with you what teachers said. Oh, it was so hard, and I complained, but I'm so glad I did it. And I immediately saw how, if I had had this, I could have done this, and I could have done this. And so I'm so grateful and proud of us for not just doing what we have to do, but doing above and beyond because it matters. And it could, the other stuff I said could change a kid's life, but like learning to read can literally change a person's entire world. So thank you. Did you think of your idea?
I had to pass the baton in order to remember what I was gonna say. I liked the fact that everybody got the same training. When you said the DPI had a variety of different, you didn't say, you can choose from all these different 5 vendors, they're all wonderful. it's a good base that everybody had the same vendor, everybody had the same knowledge, because then you can really know the consistency behind that. So I appreciate that too, that it's just,
Yeah.
it was congruent amongst everyone. But you talk about all the all the initiatives around early literacy and reading by third grade. You know, we have that as a goal, you name it, all the things that you have done. I think about the new reading curriculum. You think about all of the different things we're doing as a district to try to improve. That's pretty phenomenal when you think about, like, there's a reason why she doesn't rest. Like, there's a lot, I think, there's just all these good things that we need to be promoting as school board members to the community that we're doing to try to move the needle, because they've been some transformational, some our choice for curriculum improvement,
Right.
some that we're told to do by others, but all in the end to be able to move that needle so that student success is just so pivotal around reading success. So just thank you for all the work that you do.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
get some rest. I'll echo
I appreciate that, and
Commissioner Hayworth's
I
comment.
think, to your point too, Lisa, you know, about the administrator training, I think it's important if we're asking our teachers to do that and have that knowledge. If you're going to go in and support or help evaluate literacy instruction, we have to have a solid foundation on what best practice looks like as well too, so to be able to support, so, yeah, so thanks.
All right, okay, wrapping up tonight's meeting, we have review of Neola policy, and there was a whole bunch of them. I read them all, and I know we all did, and I always get a kick out of Commissioner Hayworth because she always finds things that, that like my brain just wouldn't see, like spaces even, she catches them. So kudos for, Eagle Eye over here that gets those things. I am not gonna name all of these policies. They're all there. There's a whole lot of them. I don't know, like 20, right? So I need a motion to consider moving these policies to full board for adoption.
So moved.
Any questions?
So the question I sent about the AG around the, did you reply to me, right? Did I save that?
Carrie and I talked about it today, I don't, did we reply? I didn't reply.
No, I don't think that we did. There are no, or the information is in our handbook, and then we'll eventually put the information in our, the guidelines.
Okay, so really
But
that
it is
one
in the
that
handbook.
says it's, okay, because I think it says it's in there now?
Like
Or
board
there, it says that
policy?
there are AGs related, it says, the district shall prepare the AGs for the completion of support staff member evaluations. Yeah, so I think, yeah, I guess, I was wondering if they were already done, but it's, so there's language in the handbook that will be.
Put in, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so your questions were answered?
Yeah, they will be, yep.
Okay, they will be. All right, any other questions? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, those are moving. That motion passes, moves to full board. Announcements and updates. My announcement is that, just so people know how PPC works, we will be having a new committee member joining us next month, and that is very exciting. Of course, we are missing Commissioner Myers, who is no longer with us because she retired. So we will wish her well. I'm sure she tuned in tonight, though, to watch this. So if you did, Commissioner Myers, we're just former Commissioner Myers, just a little shout out. We meet monthly to plan the agenda. Just so you know, those agendas get planned often months in advance, because we have presenters that come and have to or get to put together some extensive presentations. So if we talk about something, it isn't just a week or two later that gets put on the agenda. So we are already planning things out for September. We talked about that at our last planning session. We will be meeting next week again to continue that planning. We will be meeting in June. What is that? The 2nd of June. That will be a busy week. And then we do take a break for July, so just for planning purposes. And then we will meet again in August. So if there are no other questions or announcements, I will adjourn this meeting.